G'day, I'm here at Jeremy Clarkson's pub. It's famous, and as you can see, I'm not alone. Now, we arrived at 11 a.m. and the place opens at 11. But even then, we had to use the overflow car park. It was that full. But when you're here, it doesn't feel like it's packed. And the car park here is quite glorious with these, well, they 100-year-old trees. They're certainly providing plenty of shade, a much needed thing today. And at night, I imagine with these lights, that would look spectacular. Food-wise, we couldn't get into the restaurant because you need to book a month or so out to get a table in the restaurant. But they do have food trucks out the side here, and we've ordered 2 of these different rolls. How many meals a day would you serve here?
We do about 1,000 of these a day.
This one here is a couple of pieces of bacon on a bun with some butter. Just over $9 for this. The bacon is excellent. The bun's a little dry, no complaints, but I think this needs ketchup. Or sauce, as we call it in Australia, but they won't sell it to you here. There is no sauce available. And the reason they don't have ketchup is because there's no British product that is 100% British made. Now, pork sausages, quite a lot of them. That, for me, is a better option than the bacon. I think this was an extra $1.50 US, something like that. Bloody good sausages. Jeremy has his own hand-cooked chips. 3 flavours. These are cheese and onions. Easy to open the packet. Very good product. Yeah, they're nice. Diddly Squat Farm. Just briefly, thank you to all of my 470,000 plus subscribers. If you're not one of them, I invite you to join the throng. Now, I imagine that most of you know who Jeremy Clarkson is, but for the few that don't, he was a huge hit on Top Gear, the TV show run by the BBC. Then he went to Amazon for the Grand Tour, and this, in fact, is the tent they used in that show. It now houses the Diddly Farm shop, an area where you order your food, a butcher shop with some great meat, sausage rolls and even pasties, and a bottle shop over here selling his grog. If you're a Hawkstone cider fan, $41 will get you a dozen 500ml bottles. $39 will get you a dozen 330ml bottles of his famous lager, 12 for this 4-pack, and 19 for this cider gift pack. I bought 4 beers just to test for you, because as you know, I don't drink beer, but I'm going to start off with the Hawkstone lager. A nice light taste, if you like beer. This is the Session lager. Not as good for me as the other one, a bit bittery. An IPA next. No, it's a bit bitter. And finally, a black with a beautiful frothy head. Tastes a little bit like coffee. So what would I be drinking if I drank beer? Probably this one, the lager. And what are you paying for this? About $9. But there's no taxes on top and there's no tipping here. This venture employs 146 people, which in itself is an amazing feat. And I imagine around here these jobs are richly valued. At the moment, very much a tourist attraction. A lot of people I've spoken to today here for the first time.
Come all the way from Ireland to relate Jeremy Clarkson.
He's done a good job, hasn't he?
But at some point, I imagine that interest will diminish and it'll become just mainly for the food and the views. And quite frankly, this is a stunning view over some lovely farming countryside. I love the joint. I wish it was a few degrees cooler, but I love the fact that he's so pro-British. Of course, you're not getting a bargain here, and there have been a couple of stories about the prices charged at this place. One person even got banned from the pub. It was the steak pie that got Cal not banned. £24 for a pie and veg is a bit much. You are now banned from the pub, said Jeremy. God knows how they'd ever be able to recognise him if he turned up. Maybe they have cameras and facial recognition software, but I think not. Now, he's not the first to be banned. Other scallywags like Richard Hammond, banned.
Clarkson!
James May, banned.
Clarkson!
Keir Starmer, banned. So what does it take to get banned from Jeremy's pub? Well, if you're against smoking in pubs, you're gone. If you're against just serving British food, you're gone. If you're whinging about the prices, you're gone. Or if you're a long-time television pal of his, yep, you could get the flick. But of course, that was just for publicity. Dogs like Rocky Jr. here, more than welcome. In fact, there'd be a dozen here in the beer garden.
Rocky, sit. Oh, good boy.
Now, if you're asking, does Jeremy Clarkson come to this pub? I asked one of the crew and she said, yeah, he's here quite often. Haven't seen him today. But I can tell you that Jeremy actually stayed in my home in Lancelin going back 2012, I think it was. He slept in my bed James May slept in Jace's bed, and Shane Jacobson, the actor in the movie Kenny, slept in my other son's bed. They were there because they were doing a live show in Perth, but that was an hour and a half's drive. That didn't bother them because they had a helicopter that landed on the school oval every night after the show, dropped them off, and then took them back to Perth for their next day's show. I think most people agree this is not a selfish venture. He's not doing this for the money. More so, he's a champion of local British farmers. And when you go into that diddly squat farm section, you'll see that there are products from a number of other suppliers around the region. That's been a very clever strategy on his part to appeal to the other farmers to get them on side, and a united push. Now, while we couldn't get a seat inside, I did manage to sneak in for a look around. So this is the restaurant. It's not air conditioned, so on a hot day you will need a short sleeve shirt and perhaps shorts, but they do 850 meals a day in here. And on opening day, it was crazy here with crowd numbers. And then when the new season of Clarkson's Farm kicked off, it bumped up even more. This is an incredible business, and I would have liked to have shown you the band board, who's band, at this pub, but unfortunately someone nicked it. The pub's spread across 2 levels, and the upstairs is certainly warmer than downstairs. But there's a nice lounging area here, which I think, come winter, would be stunning. Nice wood fire, a warming drink, and plenty of good company. I love this. You can see the farmers that are provided, in this case, the pork, the lamb, and the potatoes. And you can see a tractor hanging from the roof. Jeremy has been a huge personality in Britain and worldwide for probably more than 2 decades. But now he's got this new audience of Clarkson Farm fans, many of whom are here today. And there's an F1 connection because Jeremy often pops up at the track, mainly Silverstone. You might remember his interview last year with Martin Brundle. I photographed him last year coming in. He was a guest of Alpine. Now, Alpine and Red Bull have both had staff dinners here. Not huge ones, but certainly Jeremy's connection with Formula One and motoring would have helped with that. And just over here I've spotted cow juices for sale. But according to this sign, it's closed until the 8th of July because the farmer is taking a much needed break. Of course, Jeremy has his fair share of detractors, and I don't think that bothers him one bit. In fact, it probably spurs him on to even greater heights. But you cannot deny that Jeremy is doing a marvellous thing for both this region and this whole country in championing British farming. Car parking wise, this one here behind me, the closest one, is for disabled and some staff. Across the road though is where most people will park. And we travelled from Oxford and it was about 38 minutes. But from London, it's a good couple of hours by road. Jeremy bought the windmill for around £1 million and then set to work on turning the modest pub into a full-on tourist destination. And his success cannot be doubted. And a word of warning, if you're coming here to stock up on beer and you've got 2 or 3 dozen, know that you will not get your car anywhere near here. You're going to have to drag it all the way to the car park, so plan for that. And this lovely lady behind me has just said, can you remind your viewers not to carry the beers by the plastic underneath? Obviously they've had some drama in the past.
Thank you for visiting us.
I certainly enjoyed it, and if you're a Top Gear, Grand Tour or Jeremy Clarkson fan, I think you will too. Now before you go, could you please do me a favour and hit the subscribe button if you haven't already done so. And for a whole lot of extra content and merchandise from the kimmelman.com store, these are the links you need. Thanks for watching and stay passionate. Yep. Got my own ladybug.